Alright, good evening, Corps. My name is First Class SIBO, and tonight I'm going to be showing you how to disassemble, clean, and then reassemble your standard issue Coast Guard rifle. So to start off, we're going to take off this handguard and the front sight. So you're going to do that by unscrewing the screw on the front. And it should just come off pretty easy. Some of these rifles are going to be really old. It's going to be hard to get some of the things off. You might need to use a little bit of force, but just don't use too much. Make sure you're using a nice little workspace where you're not going to lose any of your parts, because that'd be bad. Once you take your screw off, you're just going to unscrew the lock here, and that should slide right off after you've unscrewed it. Once that's off, you can just slide off your front sight, and after your front sight's off, you can slide off your handguard. Alright, so once our handguard's off, we're going to take our strap off just so we can access some of the trigger assembly. Just leave the strap halfway on so you don't have to redo the entire thing, and then take that out of the way. So now we're going to take our trigger assembly out. In order to do this, you're going to place your rifle like so, and you're just going to pull back on this trigger guard and then pull it up. So it looks like this, and you can just slide that right out into your trigger assembly. So you set that off to the side. Now we're just going to take the upper off. It should just come out like this. If it doesn't come out easily, you can just hold it like this and like tap the butt of your rifle against the ground or whatever you have, your desk, and it should just like come out like that. So we have our stock, we'll just set that off to the side. And now we have just the upper assembly of the rifle. What we're going to do with this is first we're going to take out the spring. So this is called the follower rod. So we're just going to pull that back or towards the barrel of the rifle and then decompress the spring slowly, and it should just come out like that. Make sure you don't let it out too fast or have it shoot across the room, because that wouldn't be ideal. And then we're just going to next take off our op rod. So this is your operating rod. So it should just slide out once you take it out of this and push it backwards. It should just slide right out. So now that that's out, we'll take our bolt out. So our bolt's up here. We're just going to slide that all the way back and then pull it forward, up and right, and it should just slide out like that. So once that's done, pin out. So you just grab a small little thing. I use a paper clip, and you're just going to push it out on the round side here, and it should just slide right out pretty easy. And once the pin's out, everything's going to fall out. So make sure you don't lose the pin. That's going to be really important for holding your rifle together. So these are all your inner pieces here. They're all just going to come right out. And now your rifle is fully disassembled, and we'll move on to cleaning. So all these pieces, you're going to want to make sure you clean. This rifle's already been cleaned, but you'll use some degreasing wipes as well as some dry lube. The degreasing wipes, you're just going to use these, get all the little pieces, all the moving parts, make sure there's no gunk or built up debris that's going to stop your rifle from operating properly. And then once you've gotten all that stuff out of your rifle, you'll take your dry lube and you'll just go over the moving parts. You're going to want to get like inside here, where the bolt runs on this guide rail right here, where the follower is. You're going to want to get your bolt, because that's going to be moving a lot too. And then maybe just give a little bit to all these inner parts here. All right, so for reassembly, I'll just define these parts here. So this is called your bullet guide. So when I talk about the bullet guide, this is the follower arm. This is the op rod assembly, or op rod catch. And this is your follower. So when we reassemble a rifle after you've cleaned it, we're gonna go basically reverse of what we did to disassemble it. So you'll take your bolt oriented like this. You'll make sure you guide it in the same way we took it out, and it should just slide like that, real nice. Then next, we will put all our insides back in. So to start with your insides, you'll put your follower in first. So you're gonna have it oriented like this, and it's just gonna slide right in here in this little channel, and it should slide real nice in there, and you'll see it moves freely up and down like that. After we have that, we're going to take our we'll take our bullet guide and we'll orient it like this. We'll just slide that right in here. It should click in like that and just be flush right there. That's how you know it's in all the way. Once we have our bullet guide, we'll take our follower arm. We'll put it in between the bullet guide, and then we'll slide it in the little rail right here that the follower has. You see it's in there, it slides freely in the follower, and it's just gonna make sure it rests just like that. So you'll lift that up, and then you'll put in your op rod catch. So that's gonna go in here. And you're gonna make sure that your op rod catches, there's a little hook on it, and you're gonna make sure it hooks onto that little tab right there, if you can see. So you're gonna make sure that's hooked under, and one way to check that it's hooked is if you push down on this, it'll spring back up. So you'll make sure that's hooked. If that's not hooked, then your rifle's not gonna operate properly. It's not gonna stay, the chamber isn't gonna stay open when you open it. So you'll make sure that's properly put in, and then we'll just put our follower arm back in, and it should just sit right in there, just like that. Once you have all those pieces in, you can look through the hole, see if everything's lined up, and if it is, you just go ahead, take your pin, and put it back in. It should only go in one way, so you shouldn't have to worry about which way you orient it. One side's big, one side's small, so figure it out pretty easy. And then we'll just check that all that's in right. You press down on your op rod catch, looks good. Your follower moves freely along with the follower arm, so everything looks like it's operating properly there. Next, we will put our op rod and our spring back in. So our op rod's gonna come here. Well, basically, what we wanna do with this is we wanna make sure that we make sure it's sitting in the rail here. So you put that there, and you also wanna make sure that this part of your op rod is joined with the bolt here. So there's a little hole, I'll show you. Once I get this out. So there's a little slot right here in the op rod. That's where this part of the bolt goes. So I want to make sure those are together. So put it in the channel first, and then slide it so that it moves with the bolt. So you can tell the bolt's in that little channel that I showed you because they move together. And you're just going to make sure that it's hooked in right there, in that little holder right there. And then we'll just double check that this works. When our follower is down, this moves as one unit, so that looks good. You push it back, bolt goes back, pull it forward, bolt goes forward. So that looks all good. And then we'll just put our spring in. So your your follower rod is gonna go right in the spring. Put that in your op rod. Then you want to orient it like this, so the bump's facing down. And you're gonna push that in, compress the spring, and this should hook right onto that follower arm, right there. So you can see it hooks right on that follower arm. This follower rod works nicely. And then you can just check that your rifle operates properly. You can push it back. Push it back. It should stay back. And then, it's hard to do it when there's a body on it. Pull it forward, yep, there, it works properly. All right, so that's the hardest part. Once we do that, we'll just reassemble the rifle again. We'll put the upper back in the stock. You want to make sure that you hook this front part first and then slide it in. It should just go in real nicely. And then to hold it in place, we're going to put our trigger assembly back in. So it should be oriented like so, and you just slide it straight in. It should go in pretty easy. Make sure your trigger guard's up, and then you'll just push your trigger guard down until you hear it click, and that means it's locked in, so it's not going anywhere. So we have all that, and then the last thing, we'll just throw our handguard and front sight back on. So those go on. The fat side of the bottom, skinny side of the top. Front sight slides right on there. Put our lock on there. Just screw it on. And so you'll tighten this all the way, and then see how it doesn't line up, because it's tightened all the way, so I'll just back it off till it lines up, and then I'll throw the screw in there, and that'll hold it. So I'll get that finger tight and I'll use a screwdriver. And just tighten it even more. There, it's nice and snug. And I'll just throw the strap back on. So hook that through this rear hook. And then pull it tight. And the strap's all good. Should be good to go. Double check that it operates properly, the chamber stays open, and then it closes when it needs to, and fires. So that's pretty much it. That's how you disassemble, clean, and fully reassemble your rifle.